It's time to walk the walk
with Ryan Walker.
Hi there folks, welcome to another edition of Walk the Walk. I'm Ryan Walker, the guitar tutor, and today we're here to talk about CAGED theory. CAGED theory is by far, I think, one of the most important pieces of guitar-based theory. It is, for all intents and purposes, the roadmap to your fretboard. It's also a learning tool that keeps cropping up again and again and again when you go through the process of learning different parts of guitar playing, from playing chords to playing arpeggios to playing scales. Once you've mastered your CAGED theory and you understand it fully, learning new things on the guitar will be quicker and easier to understand. So, it's a really big bite of theory to take in one go. And a lot of guitar teachers like to teach it just one little bit at a time. Personally, I think it is achievable to learn it all in one go. And if you leave it to just one little bit at a time, you'll always end up seeing it as little separate bits instead of one big thing that you can use. You'll always end up segmenting your fretboard instead of seeing it as one big playground to play in. Okay? So, without further ado, let's take a look at what we've got and what we're dealing with. Here we go. Alright, so let's get started. So, there are 5 chord shapes that we know of when we start playing guitar. We have the C, the G, the D, the A, and the E. And when we play a bar chord, the idea is we are playing any of those shapes underneath a bar, or our finger, okay? For example, that works with majors and minors. And if we were to take a look at one in particular, for example, we could say that this is an E-shaped chord, okay? Because it's the same shape as an E major, a regular E major. We're going to take that shape and travel it all the way up to the 7th fret here, the 6th fret here, and then put a bar across the 5th. And that now becomes a different chord. Okay. So what that means is, that means that there are 5 different ways of playing any chord. 5 different ways of playing any chord. For example, let's take an A chord. That would be its first position, which is an A shape. So you could say it's an A-shaped A. Alright. And then you take this one, which would be, that would be the 3rd, wouldn't it? Because it's an E-shaped, that would be the E-shaped A. Here's a G-shaped A. A D-shaped A. And finally, the C-shaped A. So it's first position, it's second position, it's 3rd, it's 4th, and it's 5th. Alright, so obviously some of these shapes are more practical than others. An E shape is much easier to play than a G shape. but for all intents and purposes, they do sound extremely similar. If we play a G chord, for example, we can see we can see how similar the G and the E shapes. Remember, we're talking about shapes now, not chords. The G shape and the E shape sound. So here's a G-shaped G, a G chord in its first position, a G-shaped G. We're going to take that up to its second position, the E shape. You can see how similar those two sound? They sound exactly the same. Yeah, that's because they start and finish on the same notes. Alright, so what does that mean? I mean, why do we even need to know all these different ways of playing bar chords? Well, there are two reasons. Ooh. There are two reasons. One is that there are some chords, a lot of chords actually, that you just can't play without a bar chord. So if you wanted to play a C sharp, you're going to have to use a bar chord. You're going to have to. There's no open way of playing that in a standard tuning. The other thing though, and the main reason why I use bar chords and caged theory so much, is that all these different shapes have their own different accents, is how I like to put it. They have different ways of sounding. So a D shape here, that's a G chord, sounds different to a G-shaped G, and a G in its first position. And that's largely because of the note that they end on. This high frequency note, the notes that end on the high E string here, tend to add the flavour. Can I call it that? Why not? Let's call it that. The flavour, the accent of the chord. So G shapes and E shapes sound very complete, resolved, done. You may applaud now, which is how I see it. You play them at the end of a progression or at the end of a song completely, and that's why the listener knows then that's a good time to end. Yeah? D shapes end on the third note of the scale, which gives the mood of the chord. So if it's a major chord, it's going to sound very happy and chirpy. Yeah? Or very sad if it's a minor. There's nothing sadder than a minor D shape. Or you've got possibly my favourite, which is going to be the A shape, the A major or minor shape. They end on the fifth of the scale. So they harmonise perfectly with each other. So what I like to do is possibly use A shapes all the way through a song, and then I'll end on an E shape or a G shape. For example, I have this this one progression here, starts with an E, goes to an A, back to the E, and then descends down to an E minor. It's first position. So it's really easy to hear there exactly where the end, the full stop of the progression is, which I suppose is a really nice way of saying it. Caged theory allows you to add punctuation to your progressions, which, especially if you're a singer-songwriter, acoustic player, and you don't have a band behind you when you play, or maybe you're just playing for yourself at home and you're experimenting with songwriting, CAGED theory is a wonderful tool to have, just in terms of adding punctuation to your playing. Quite apart from that though, it will give you a roadmap for your fretboard. It will give you a better understanding of the chords you have to play with. And it will act as a learning tool throughout your experience with the guitar. You will constantly come back to and be referring to CAGED theory to learn anything from chords to arpeggios to just full-blown scales. Okay, good stuff. Alright, hopefully you got something from that. CAGED theory is one of those really complex things that you'll need to go over a lot in order for the penny to drop. So I would advise watching this video a bunch of times. Plus it gets my views up quite a lot, so it makes me look good. Alright, so what I'll leave you with is a exercise which will make you go over and over and over this information in your head, in your mind's eye, so that you keep it fresh, it's used information, so eventually the process of working out these new bar chords will become easy and fluid, and eventually you won't need to work them out. You'll just know them. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take any chord that you like. For example, you could take an A chord. Say an A minor. And you pick a shape. Say an E shape. And what you do is you count up your fretboard until you find your A, and then you play the chord. So we've got an E right here, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and here's your A right here, 5th fret. And then you plug in that bar chord and away you play. What you can do as well is you can check it against the chord that you already know. So we already know this down here is an A minor chord. Does it sound the same? Yes, it does. That means you got it right. So just spend some time putting together, taking out of thin air, just taking one at random, taking a chord and putting it together with a shape of your choice. And put them together. Try and challenge yourself. Don't just stick to the easy ones. Okay? You will find E shapes and A shapes easier than, say, G shapes and C shapes. It's difficult to say, isn't it? So stay away from the C shapes and the G shapes. Okay? Stick to your Ds, your Es and your As, but challenge yourself. Try and mix it up as much as you can. Alright? And see how you get on. Alright, any questions that you might have, feel free to ask them in the comment section below. I will get to you, trust me. I'm not at the stage yet where I have too many questions to answer. Alright, so ask away. Great stuff. I will see you next time. Tune in for another thrilling installment. And have a great day. Bye!
What time is it, Ryan?